Welcome to the Experience Oldsmar with the Mayor. I'm your host, Dan Saracki, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar, broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Oldsmar, right here in Ari Old's old bank building. Welcome. Today I have a really special guest, and I'm really excited to introduce our guest with over 35 years of professional planning experience in both the public and private sectors. My guest today is Executive Director of Forward Pinellas, Whit Blanton. Thank you for being here, Wilt. Welcome.
Thanks, Mayor. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
What an exciting opportunity for you to visit our city here in Oldsmar. Thank you so much for that. I understand that you are a native of King Mountain, North Carolina. I've never been there, so tell me about it.
So Kings Mountain is a great little community when you're coming into North Carolina from the Atlanta area on I-85. It's the first mountains you see. There's the Pinnacle and there's Crowder's Mountain. And my dad was born there and died there. And it's a little town with 4 exits. He's really proud of that fact. But it's booming because it's just about 30 or 40 minutes west of Charlotte. So Kings Mountain's starting to grow up.
Tell us a little about the history. What about the Revolutionary War?
Absolutely. It was a turning point in the Revolutionary War. It was where the over-the-mountain men came from up in the Asheville area, before it was Asheville, and they came down and defeated Cornwallis in the Battle of Kings Mountain, and there was a national battleground there. It would turn the tide in the Revolutionary War.
Absolutely. Great story. Thanks for sharing. I learn something new every day, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. What made you decide to come down to Florida?
So in 1971, my mom moved us down here. They had divorced, and she took a job with the Volusia County Girl Scouts agency there. And so I moved here just a little over 6 years old, and we've been in Florida pretty much ever since.
So you said 1971, and what was a historical year for the state? What was it?
Well, that was the year Disney World opened. And so we were just an hour away from Disney World in Ormond Beach, so that was a great place to get to.
I was down in Vero Beach in 71. I was in 5th grade, and we went over to Disney, too, for the grand opening. That was a wonderful experience back then. So we're going to talk a little bit about your education. You graduated from the University of Florida, and what was that all about?
So I went there and got a degree in journalism and really enjoyed the University of Florida experience. My sister had gone there before me, so kind of was already a Gator when I was even, in elementary school. And then I decided I didn't want to be a newspaper reporter. That was when the profession was really starting to change. So I took a job with the Florida legislature in the House K-12 committee, and they told me I had to be in grad school to accept that job. So I applied to the Urban and Regional Planning program at Florida State. They accepted me, and here I am 36 or so years later. I'm a professional planner.
So you went from the Gators to the Seminoles. So let's talk about that. What are you? What side? You this or are you this?
I've got 6 Florida State degrees in my immediate family, and I've got 3 University of Florida degrees, but I am a Gator.
All right. So there you go.
It's kind of where you go first.
I love it. That's wonderful. That's great. So a Gator. Do you ever go to the games at all, or?
I do. I try to go to at least one basketball game a year, and if I can get some tickets offered to me, I'll go to a football game.
I know. I've never been to a Gator football game or a Seminole football game. I've always wanted to go. Maybe one time. It's on the bucket list.
It's worth it.
So before we go, let's go to the next subject. You have a quite extensive background in planning and development. What was your first job right out of college?
I took a job with a traffic and transportation engineering firm in Orlando. And I was a transportation planner, and they had me doing traffic counts down in Fort Lauderdale, where I would get up very early in the morning, pound nails into the pavement, stretch road tubes across the highway, and also I did manual turning movement counts at all the intersections. So it was a really good way to learn how transportation works from the ground up by collecting data.
Absolutely. Interesting. So that was a full-time job, or was it an internship?
That was a full-time job,
Yeah.
and I interned with the Florida legislature and told you about that.
Yeah.
And one of the very first jobs that I worked on as a consultant was for the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, where I did a comprehensive operations analysis for them in 1989, something like that. I worked on the Pinellas Transportation Impact Fee in 1988, 89. So I've been working in Pinellas County my whole career.
Learn something new every day. Thank you so much for sharing that. You took your career to a new level when you founded the Renaissance Planning Group. What was that experience like?
Well, it was an eye-opening experience to be a business owner and to be responsible for payroll and meeting payroll every couple of weeks. We started with 4 people, 4 founding owners, and I was the vice president of the company. And we quickly grew to 45 people at one point, which was big for a planning firm because that's all we did was transportation planning and land use planning. I thoroughly enjoyed it, although the start was pretty rocky. I was moving into my new house in Winter Park on that Friday, Saturday, and on Monday I was fired from my old job because we were starting to form Renaissance Planning Group, and they fired us summarily. So I had no job, I had a new house, and I had this notion of a consulting firm that we were going to start. And we persevered. We managed to land some contracts and got a bank loan, and we kept it going, and we grew.
That's great. So that was in Orlando?
That was in Orlando in 1999 is when I did that.
99. Mm-hmm. Very, very interesting. All right, the merger in 2014, 2 important organizations merged together. The Pinellas County Metropolitan Planning Organization, known as the MPO, and the Pinellas Planning Council, known as the PPC. Can you explain how that merger impacted Pinellas County?
Well, it was a big change because decisions were being siloed on transportation and land use by 2 different agencies. The MPO was a division of the county planning department, so it was kind of underneath the Board of County Commissioners. And I think a lot of the cities felt like that the focus was on county priorities, county needs, not so much city needs. And that had been kind of a long-standing concern. The Pinellas Planning Council was a smaller, dependent special district that focuses on countywide land use issues. So by doing that merger, where we have a governing board of 13 elected officials who deal with both land use and transportation, it really makes us work harder to align those issues, think about where growth and redevelopment is happening, and make sure transportation is being invested in accordingly to support that. And I think it's made a world of difference in everywhere from the Gateway to downtown St. Petersburg to communities like Oldsmar and Tarpon Springs and in Palm Harbor.
Exactly. So that was around 2014. And then in 2015, you were hired shortly right after that merger. How different was it for you now to be the executive director of a newly formed Forward Pinellas as compared to your self-employment?
Well, it was vastly different because in the private sector, you can turn on a dime and do things very quickly. You can hire and fire staff very quickly. You can make investment decisions, go, no-go decisions, and you're just off and running. As a consultant, you didn't see the inner workings necessarily of the administrative process, how bills got paid, how decisions got made. You were just out there leading the plan. Mm-hmm. So it was very eye-opening to become, inside the government. I hadn't been in government since graduate school. And so learning that process, learning the steps, learning the procedures is a big difference. I was the first executive director of this newly formed organization. There were 2 interim directors for 4 years. It took a long time. That's the other thing about the government. It takes a while to do things. And it took 4 years to get this merger to happen. So I show up and people are still figuring out how to order paper clips and other supplies because it's not the county anymore. So, and then the 2 agency staff didn't even know each other. I mean, they passed each other in the hallways, but they didn't work together. Mm-hmm. So we had to build a culture. We had to build a team. We had to unify that team. And it's funny, in my first year, I did a 360 staff review, and it was anonymous. And one of the comments was, Whit runs this like a consulting firm. And I think it was meant to be negative, but my board was like, what's wrong with that? That sounds pretty good to us. So I've adapted, I've grown, and I've learned, and I think we're all getting along really well now. But those first few months might have been a little rocky.
Well, I've been self-employed my whole life. Mm-hmm. 2015, I was elected to the city council, and I learned the same thing. Working in local government, everything takes time. It's not as like in self-employment, you can boom, get things done. It takes time, and it's sometimes it's hard to tell the public that. I mean, things don't happen overnight anymore. It takes time. So in layman's terms, can you explain to our audience what Forward Pinellas is?
We are the decision-making body for transportation investments that use state or federal funds in Pinellas County. That's probably the biggest thing we do. We set priorities, We identify the projects, we set priorities, and then we usher them through. And that's the decision that the board makes. On the land use side, we are a recommending body to the Board of County Commissioners on land use cases, and that's a result of a legal issue that happened years and years ago with the city of Safety Harbor. So the land use decisions we are recommending, we almost always have our recommendations accepted, but on the transportation side, we are the definitive authority for what decisions get made.
Well, just from my perspective of watching you and your team, the board members, I think you're doing an amazing job for Pinellas County, and I'm really, really impressed. I've learned so much from you and your and staff from over the years, just watching you guys. So how are each municipality represented?
They are proportionally represented by the governing board, so it's based on population. The larger cities in the county have a few more seats, but we are working to add additional seats now that's
Right.
underway. So we will be moving from a 13-member board to a 19-member board to add some additional seats. But it's generally, Oldsmar is a good example. It's been represented by elected officials from either Tarpon Springs, Oldsmar, or Safety Harbor since we did the new apportionment plan after the 2010 census. That's now changing to where Oldsmar and Safety Harbor will share a seat. We have a Beaches seat, Pinellas Park has a seat, Largo has a seat, so it really is based on population.
So if I'm not mistaken, St. Pete now will have 4 seats on your board.
That's correct.
All right.
As with 4 county commissioners.
And now Tarpon Springs has their own seat.
Right.
And we are, City of Oldsmar and the City of Safety Harbor will split that seat, which is actually better.
I think so. And you'll have a longer term. So instead of 2-year terms, there'll be 3-year terms.
Yeah, I think it's much better too. I think that's a great improvement. And we're waiting for the governor to okay that still.
That's it. It's been submitted to the governor.
All right. So since 2015, tell us a little bit, what are some of the improvements you have seen in traffic, transportation, and mainly infrastructure? I know that there's a lot going on with infrastructure right now.
Yeah, and you can see it under construction if you drive around the county. Probably the biggest project is the Gateway Expressway, which is a new toll road that will connect US 19 with I-275. It'll also connect the Bayside Bridge with I-275. And it'll be open in early 2024, like right after the first of the year. It is a toll road, but it will avoid some of that congestion and delay that you see at 49th and Ulmerton Road and Roosevelt and 28th Street. And if you're ever trying to get from this side of the county down to St. Pete for a Rays game at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, you know what kind of delays you can face. So I think it'll be a big improvement. We also have the Howard Franklin Bridge that's under construction, and that's adding capacity to the bridge, which will help all those Tampa people get to the new Rays Stadium.
Yes.
So those are big projects. We have $1.4 billion in the West Shore Interchange, but we do a lot of smaller projects too. If you're in the Palm Harbor area, there's a roundabout that's been built on Alt 19. Not everybody loves roundabouts, I've learned, but it actually will help move traffic and keep things safer, getting people to and from downtown Palm Harbor and the Pinellas Trail.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Sure.
Before we go there, what about the US 19? You're working on that too?
We have a major construction project underway between Main Street, State Road 580 in the Dunedin countryside area, all the way up through Curlew Road. And there'll be a new interchange at Curlew Road. The traffic signal at Republic Drive is going away.
Thank God.
So that whole stretch will look like it does further to the south with frontage roads. And the neat thing about it is we have pedestrian crossings built into that design every half a mile. Mm-hmm. And that's been a problem to the south where it divided whole neighborhoods from retail and commercial areas. And we had to go back in and build an overpass, which was much more expensive. So we're getting that all built in as part of the project, which will make it cheaper.
Well, I remember when I first moved here and I tried to go to St. Pete. It was a nightmare going down Roosevelt and going into Largo and that whole area. When I started seeing that overpass built and was reading the articles about what you guys were planning on doing, I'm just so excited. I cannot wait for that to open. I'm being honest with you. Because from McMullen Booth, you can just hop right over and get on the 275. So I think that's a great improvement for our transportation needs here in Pinellas County. All right. You are currently serving a 2-year term for the 2023-2024 as president of the Florida chapter of the American Planning Association. First of all, congratulations. Wow, that's incredible. How has your improvement with the APA enhanced? What do you do for Forward Pinellas? What's the enhancement?
Well, I think I have a statewide platform now, so I try to get around the state, try to listen to my colleagues, my peers. I also am the voice of APA Florida, so I talk to state legislators, I talk to our partners at Florida Association of Counties, Florida League of Cities, and try to build those relationships. One of the biggest ones that we're developing and working on is with the Florida Housing Coalition, because we have an affordable housing crisis here in the state of Florida, here in Pinellas County. And having an alliance between the Florida Housing Coalition, which is based in Tallahassee, and the American Planning Association, also based in Tallahassee, I think we can really get a lot done. And one of the big bills that passed last year was called the Live Local Act, which puts a lot more money into housing and affordable housing here in Florida. And we're not talking about traditional public housing, Section 8 housing. We're talking about housing that's for our workforce, our police officers, firefighters, nurses, teachers,
right.
People at that level who find it increasingly more difficult to live in Pinellas County or Tampa Bay in general. So we need a little more supply out there, and it needs to go in the right locations where it can be served by infrastructure, by transportation, by utilities, by transit.
Sounds like you're on the right path. I really do. I think you're on the right path of success for our county. Thank you so much for all that. We're going to talk about the Oldsmar. We are very honored. We are very honored to host the Forward Pinellas 2023 Bike Your City event. My wife Paula was there. Unfortunately, I was in Washington, D.C. with PSTA. What made you select the wonderful community of Oldsmar?
Well, you have a great trail network, first of all, and you have some really great parks. But we try to get around the entire county. So we've had these events in other cities. We've gone to Clearwater, Largo, Pinellas Park. Gulfport was real successful, but Oldsmar knocked our socks off. We had tremendous participation, and a lot of people don't get to this part of the county. So it was fun having a lot of bicyclists who had never ridden these trails before, and they all said, we'd be back, we'll come back. And now it's getting connected to the Pinellas Trail Network, that whole 75-mile loop that we're developing around the county. So that connection is great. And at a regional scale, I can see your trail network also connecting over to the Upper Tampa Bay Trail. It's not too far away.
It's really not.
It's just unfortunately, it's a busy high-speed road, and we've got just a little bike lane. But there's probably another way to get there.
See, what's really kind of unique is that's how I started really understanding who you were, because when I first was on social media, I would follow you, and you would always be on your bike. And I ride my bike all the time around the trails. I'm going out tonight, actually. And I'd follow you, and you'd send these pictures of all these places you were going. And my wife and I travel, and we check out different areas because of you. So thank you for all that. Give me a little secret. Where's the next one, the 2024? Where's the next bike event going to be held at?
I don't know that we've decided exactly where the next one's going to be, or maybe I haven't been briefed yet.
Oh, okay. I thought
probably more likely.
I thought maybe I'd get a little secret there.
I think we're actually looking at St. Petersburg.
Oh, okay.
We have not had it in St. Petersburg yet, and they have a pretty great trail network.
Well, I definitely want to attend it because my wife said it was amazing. She said it was, like you said, well attended. She loved it, and we want to attend the one next year. So thank you. All right, we're going to go back to that subject. The city of Oldsmar received a grant from the state to build a roundabout. Some of the citizens in our city have voiced some concern. It's all over social media, and you mentioned a little bit about it. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, not all roundabouts are the same. This probably won't be the Clearwater roundabout. That's usually what people think about over in Clearwater Beach. But roundabouts move traffic. They move traffic efficiently. They move traffic slowly. And they have a proven safety record. Most traffic entering and exiting the roundabout is traveling at about 11 to 12 miles an hour. And that is well within the safe speed zone. So if, God forbid, there is some sort of a conflict, it's a minor fender bender, or you're not going to kill somebody. That's very different than a traffic signal, where we have far more injuries and fatalities at traffic signals because people run red lights. It just happens. People make right turns and crash into people. I've only been knocked down on my bicycle twice, and that was at a signalized intersection both times. Roundabouts are safer. They calm traffic. They move traffic. And they're a little different. They take some getting used to. And I think that's probably the biggest concern that people generally have.
So my wife and I found some family over in Poland. And we went to a wedding. We got invited to my cousin's daughter's wedding. Mm-hmm. When we went over there, everything's a roundabout in Europe. I was like, where are the traffic signals? There were very little traffic signals, all roundabout. And exactly what you said is the cars just keep moving. Unless there's a pedestrian crossing the street, then you would stop. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I mean, it saves gas, right? Saves energy.
Sure does.
And you're just moving, like you said, 10, 11, 12 miles an hour. You're not speeding. But I actually, I actually like roundabouts. I personally like them. Originally from Buffalo, New York, my wife just went up there to visit her dad. And one road, they had 6 roundabouts where it used to be a stop sign, 4-way stop sign, 4-way stop sign. Mm-hmm. We would stop, go. Now it's just roundabouts down the whole street, and you don't stop anymore.
Right.
So it's a tough thing, like you said, to educate people on roundabouts.
They're also, they save money. Unlike a traffic signal where you have to have the electricity and you have to maintain it, traffic signals are expensive, not only to install, but to maintain. And while a roundabout may be a little more expensive initial upfront construction, especially if you have to have a car right-of-way, over time, it'll pay for itself. Over 20, 30 years, it pays for itself.
The city of Oldsmar is going to be having a little open house for the residents to come out and talk about give their feedback of for or against the roundabout. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say. And definitely we'll share that information with you so you can be involved in giving some feedback on that.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be there.
All right. Forward Pinellas just launched a new county initiative, Advantage Pinellas 2050. Can you tell us about your planning efforts for this and details on the participation challenge?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're excited about this. This is our 2050 Advantage Pinellas Long-Range Transportation Plan. We do it every 5 years, so we have to update it based on population and growth and trends. And a big thing happened since we last adopted a long-range plan in 2019. What do you think that is?
Oh, boy.
The pandemic.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
So travel patterns changed. People aren't commuting to work like they used to. There's more people doing remote work. What does that mean for our county? The other thing is we're projecting another 120,000 people moving to Pinellas County over the next 25 years, bringing our population to about 1.1 million. Where are we going to put another 125,000 people? That's bigger than the city of Clearwater.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that because that's a real challenge. That's what we have to really think through. So Advantage Pinellas 2050, you can go to the website, advantagepinellas2050.org, and it's a participation challenge that allows you to identify concerns, issues, things that you like that we've done and you want to see more of, or things that are in place that you don't like and don't want to see more of, and you can flag those. And the more things that you do, the more opportunity you have to win some prizes, gift raffles and gift cards and things like that.
Interesting.
So yeah, you can earn points, and the more you comment on things, the more points you earn.
So let's tell our viewers, everyone out there listening, go on there and fill that out. We want to hear what you have to say, correct?
Absolutely. Through the end of this year, it's going to be available and open, and we'll take those comments and use that to form the recommendations in Advantage Pinellas, the 2050 long-range plan. Now, I want to make it real clear that we're not only looking at the year 2050, because we're required to build a plan based on revenues that are coming in every 5 years. So we'll be looking at what projects we're planning to construct and have operational between 2025 and 2030, between 2030 and 2035. That's not that far away in transportation terms.
You got a lot going on right now. When I drive around Pinellas County, there's a lot of transportation improvements going on in construction. So I think you're on the right track. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners before we close this off? Again, the city of Oldsmar is honored and humbled, and thank you for being here. Anything else you want to share?
I think the last thing is that Oldsmar is in a really great geographic location because you are right there between Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco County. You're a regional jobs magnet, and we are working closer than ever with our regional partners to address regional transportation needs. And probably in the next year or two, you're going to see a newly formed regional metropolitan planning organization that will bring Hillsborough and Pinellas and Pasco together to advocate for some real game-changing investments in the Tampa Bay area. Because I think, frankly, we've been lagging behind the Orlando area, the South Florida area, the Jacksonville area, and we're punching below our weight. And if we can get this together and we can make it happen, I think we can really move mountains.
Well, they're actually talking about merging Hart with PSTA because they're having some issues over there in Hillsborough County. I know that's been on the drawing board with the PSTA board. And then the MPO merging the Pasco, Hillsborough, and will be the largest MPO in the state.
That's right.
So there's a lot of different things, exciting things going on, and it's fun to watch. It actually is watching our community grow.
And I think the key to all this is that you need the support of your state and federal legislators, and they want to know what your priorities are. And if you're going up to Tallahassee or Washington talking about, well, in Pinellas, our priority is this, and in Hillsborough, they're talking about different things, then you're not going to get much action.
Right.
And that's how Orlando has really been successful with their Sunrail commuter rail system, with the Wekiva Parkway, the whole beltway that they built, because they went there with the 1, 2, and 3 priorities.
And when I was up in D.C., when I missed your biking event, that's exactly what happened. Brad Miller from PSTA was talking about his goals, and Hart was completely different than ours, and there wasn't a connect, and they knew, the legislator knew that at that time. So yeah, so there's a lot of exciting things. Well, thank you, Whit, for being my guest today. To find out a list of podcast segments, visit experienceoldsmar.com. Anything else?
No, thank you, Mayor. It's been a real pleasure to talk with you today.
I am so honored you're here. Thank you so much. All right. I'm your host, Oldsmar Dan Saracki. Until next time, I invite you to check out all my podcasts and all the great things that are going on here in the city of Oldsmar. And don't forget, especially check out the bike trails. Maybe you'll see Whit and I out there someday.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, Oldsmar.